You know what I'm saying? We back. This time we on twitch.tv/ it's simply Rodney. Go ahead, check it there. Or youtube.com/ it's simply Rodney. I'm trying to do Kick, but Kick it's bugging right now, so it'll just be these two for a little bit until I figure it out. But regardless, I just kind of want to talk about the current state of like Twitch, its affairs, how it's handling everything, and how it could be better, structured, better managed, just in a better position overall. Because right now, Twitch is probably the worst that it's ever been, and there's a lot of key factors for it. And I think the main factor of it is the management at every level has failed. So you got our normal Twitch moderators, our normal Twitch staff. We got Twitch management, Twitch upper management, and then we got Dan Clancy himself, the Gooning Lord, Dan Clancy CEO, and that is the main problem with Twitch right now. Their management and staff just they're so disconnected, and they just don't have a structure to follow. They're disconnected. They don't have any structure to follow. They don't really have any guidelines. They have loose parameters that are kind of wishy washy. Like, hey, these are here, so we can say that they're here, but they're really just arbitrary. They don't really mean anything. They're just so we can put on a front in case anything happens. We can say, oh, we got our guidelines in place, and we're using those to take care of anything that may happen, right? And I think that's just a horrible business model to follow, because that at that point you can just put any kind of guideline in there if you're not going to follow it or enforce it, and just say, well, they're not following the guidelines, so it'll get them. They just have to go through like the review process and everything like that. And I just think that's unhealthy. And as we can see right now, it's very unhealthy with the amount of free speech that's getting away with a lot of stuff. Which, sure, free speech is good, but you have to have some kind of consequences, because some of the things that are being said and some of the things that are being done are completely unacceptable, right? So I want to start with, we'll start at the bottom, not even the bottom, because it's like the entire community, but we'll start with like the streamers themselves. And there's just a total lack of accountability, a total lack of unbiasedness, a total lack of just implementation of your terms of service. It just things like that, right? So when I talk about this, the biggest examples are Hassan and his orbiters, right? So we got Hassan, we got Denims, we got Froggen, we got fucking iDubbbz, Mike from PA. Like, all these people are saying just the most heinous things, right? Like when you have Hassan having calls to actions against like senators and other people, landlords that are like not charging property or something like that, whatever he said, where he said that he's got to let the streets bathe in their like red communist blood or something like that. Like, it's just crazy. You can't be saying that on anything. You can't say that. Like, sure, I'm gonna start this. Okay, let's backpedal. I'm gonna say you can say whatever you want. You can't have consequences from saying. You can't be free of consequences from saying whatever you want, right? So sure, you can say whatever you want on Twitch, but there are consequences, and that's why we have a terms of service, is to get these consequences out there and enforced, and make sure everybody knows kind of like what's acceptable to do on this privately owned platform. So when you're out here saying you gotta take out a senator, which is crazy. Don't do that. That's insane. Or like these landlords, or just anything or anybody that doesn't agree with you. Like, that's insane. That needs to be punished. That needs to be reported. They need to be banned. They need to be kicked off of anything that they could possibly benefit from you. So for Twitch, Froggen was the one that said, or no, Hassan was the one that said that specifically. So ban Hassan, demonetize him, get rid of everything that has to do with him and Twitch. Like the amount of things that he's gotten away with, animal abuse, spreading violence, radicalizing people. Like, we had a whole trial that I think it was on the 8th that Dan Clancy had to testify at. Like, there's a whole thing going on because of the radicalization, and it's because of people like him that are saying all of these things and not getting punished for it. And then you have people like Froggen that's saying, "Oh, the vets should get PTSD and stuff like that." That's crazy. Like, they're the people that have fought for your right to even be able to stream and have an audience, and like do the things that you love to do. And you're saying, they can get PTSD. Like, that's insane. Don't do that. That's just some of the most foul things that you could ever say. And we got people like Mike from PA, like throwing out bounties on people. Like, that's legitimately a crime. Like, it was a well televised, like well documented. There's VODs, there's clips, there's recordings, there's everything where an actual crime was just committed. And instead of reporting it, instead of taking any kind of action, they just said, hands are tied. We have guidelines. He obviously didn't break any of the guidelines, so he's fine. And then they called it a day, and nothing ever happened to him, like for that specific thing. And then he was making horrible jokes, horrible comments about certain ethnic groups and things like that. And it's just, they're just letting things slide for so much with this specific group of people. But when you have people like Tectone who call somebody fat, or Alinity who threw her cat and fed him like alcohol. Like, when you have these types of things going on and those are the people getting banned, it kind of just brings up a question of how are these certain people like Hassan's group getting preferential treatment for saying and doing the most diabolical things, while other people that are doing the same things and much lighter things getting much more punishment. Like the dude that assaulted Emiru, that got 30 days, that had to be like argued for and pushed against to get an indefinite ban. That's insane. Like, what are we really talking about right now? It doesn't even make sense. And that's like the baseline root of the problem is too many things are sliding, and it's not being evenly punished. The punishments are not being evenly distributed. There's clear biases, and that's cultivating a very radicalized, a very just dangerous community for things like what happened over at TwitchCon to go down. But even moving past them, right, we have the Twitch staff itself, where moderators aren't really like able to do their jobs because of the preferential treatment that certain streamers are getting. So if you're out here and like you hear something that Hassan says and you're a moderator and you're like, hey, we got to get him out of here, but he's one of the biggest streamers that's got like Dan Clancy in his pocket. If I get him out of here, then I lose my job, so I have to let this slide so I can protect my my livelihood. And it just that spreads around, because you can't, if there's certain people that are having these effects of not being able to be punished, or else the person that punished them also gets punished. That's just breeding a workplace where people are afraid to do their jobs in fear of losing it and having to restart at a different career somewhere that doesn't pay as much. And just it's unfortunately, in this economy, it's not something that can be taken lightly, because it's very difficult to sustain yourself if you're, even as a single person, depending on where you live. And if you have a family, it's very difficult. So I understand where they're coming from, of you have to exercise some reverence even when things don't align with what's supposed to be going on, just so that you can live, right? So you can protect yourself. And I don't say that's the fault of the moderators themselves. I still say that goes further up to like executives. Again, everything's going to come back to Dan Clancy, and we'll get there in a little bit. But also, the other thing is the lack of like transparency for Twitch staff, because there's not like, you can't just reach out to like, here's the head of Twitch staff, or here's like the community spokesperson for Twitch staff. Like, these are the people that are going to be handling these things. You kind of just throw something into an abyss and call it a day and see what kind of sticks. And if it doesn't stick, you can't really like follow up with it outside of tweeting them or sending in more requests or anything like that. And it's very non-transparent, very opaque, and nobody can reach out to this. You can't really fight it, because you don't know where to fight it at. So you have to just start reaching all of these random different outlets of just random different Twitch moderators, random different Twitch staff, Twitch employees, maybe trying to even like at Dan Clancy on Twitter or something, or going into streams of employees and trying to get some answers there. Like it's very convoluted, and you don't have a direct way to just Q&A, question and answer, ask things outside of like these like TwitchCon where Dan Clancy had his panel. Like you don't have that every day. You can't just ask these questions and get these answers back to back right away like that. It's a very rare occurrence. And then I still don't think I think that's a deliberate move by one of the executives, not Dan Clancy himself, but that's a move from one of the executives to just kind of make it difficult for any kind of reports or anything to go off. I swear I just heard something. I don't know. But moving up, it's going all the way to Dan Clancy now. Like, I think he single handedly is the reason why Twitch is failing. And there's just so many different reasons for it. First of all, he openly, like, defends, protects, and just gives this shield of leniency towards Hassan and his entire group. And you can even hear it when there was a clip during his Q&A at TwitchCon where a veteran came up. He's like, I've been streaming with y'all for like 9 years or something. I'm an Army vet. I was out here doing all these things. And there have been comments made on your website that veterans should get PTSD and things like that, obviously referring to Froggen. And when it gets to Dan Clancy, because he's like, what are we going to do? Because veterans are a protected class. Like, when are you going to do something about this? This is unacceptable. Dan Clancy just says, thank you for your service, you know, and he goes off on about his own timeline. He's like, yeah, there's some things on my timeline and blah, blah, blah. Like, he just makes up some shenanigans that basically boils down to, yeah, they said it. Am I going to do anything? Nah, I'm good. I like those. I like that group, so they're solid. And it's just like, why? What do these people do for you? Like, what kind of blood pact does Hassan and the Orbiters have with Dan Clancy for this level of immunity and this level of just ignorance and ignoring everything? Like, even in his Taylor Lorenz thing, where they ask about the situation that happened with Emiru, his response was horrendous. He's like, yeah, it basically boiled down to, yeah, this was her fault. She cultivated her community to do this, so really, that's her problem. And it's like, what? You can't just say she cultivated a community, so it's her fault that what happened to her with your lack of community or your lack of security, like your complete security failure, is her fault. You can't say that because it's just blatantly incorrect. It doesn't make any sense, and it's very insensitive. It's very disingenuous. It's very it also promotes a culture or a community moving forward that's okay for them to do because they're not going to have any problems with it. They might get a temporary 30-day ban. Oh, boo hoo, they'll be back in a month. Like, you need to take these things more seriously because at the end of the day, these are the people that you have a contractual obligation to protect, that you're bringing out to a venue. You've promised them security and safety, and then you fell through on your promise, and it's all went ski wampus. Like, it's unacceptable. So I think the best course of action in order to get Twitch back on its feet, because its viewership has been plummeting. If you look at it, it's gotten like a 30% decrease, 30-40% decrease from like the beginning of the year to now, even with FaZe doing its subathon, Kai doing Mafiathon 3, like Office Drummer and all that, even though they're Office Drummer definitely like a small person, but everybody's doing like a-thons. They're doing some kind of marathon, subathon, Mafiathon, whatever-a-thon. It's all out there. And with these record-breaking numbers, again, Kai hitting 1 million subscribers, and just getting record-breaking numbers every day, daily, having over 100,000 plus active watchers, the viewership is going down because it's just so poorly managed. It's such a poor experience. They don't know how to handle like advertisements or anything like that. They don't know how to handle having a good viewer experience, and that's just shutting everything down. So I would say the best course of action is it has to go through Amazon because Amazon owns Twitch, obviously. Amazon has to come in and just like put the kibosh on everything management level. So leave the streamers alone, except for the ones that are very egregious in breaking all these rules. So Hassan, Denims, Froggins, Mike from PAI Dubs, all these weirdos, get them out of here. But other than that, go from the top down and get rid of everybody. Get rid of Dan Clancy. Bro's just a genuine weirdo. He's a creep. He's a fraud, and it's just he's a charlatan. Get him out of here, and just do that for everybody, for every management level, because it's all in shambles. They failed on every level for all of these, and just rehire everybody. If it has to take like merging a little bit closer with Amazon and start getting like their head of security involved, their like media division and everything like that involved, sure, merge that, get those people involved and have them start running things, or just do a very extensive, very strenuous what's it called, a very extensive, very strenuous like interview process to vet out who would be best to lead Twitch. And I would even say like look at your top streamers that have been so vocally frustrated about Twitch because they've been here for so long that they kind of know what would be the best course of action for Twitch, for regaining viewership, for having that engagement, for having people wanting to come back to the website, because they were the ones that built it from the ground up, brick by brick, back when it was like Justin TV or something like that. So revamp it all, get rid of everything. And this is just for the Twitch side. Start implementing your TOS, do some bots, do some live reviews, be very transparent with who's reviewing things, the reviewing team. That way, if anybody has any questions, concerns, if they have like, hey, my video got struck, or I got banned for this, or I got suspended for this, can you go over this with me, like case managers and stuff like that, so we can see what's going on, just so everybody is fully transparent of what's happening. That would be phenomenal steps in the right direction, and just kind of build off of that. Like, obviously, I don't own a business, I don't have anything, so take it with a grain of salt, whatever I'm saying, but it's definitely something that does need to be looked into, and just a whole organization management restructure has to be done. And then for TwitchCon itself, and this is kind of like for TwitchCon itself, have that separate from Twitch, right? So you can be the Twitch CEO and have all of that, and you're focused directly on Twitch, but have a semi-separate like entity, like a TwitchCon LLC, some that's owned by somebody completely different that handles just the conventions, just the IRL stuff, just like the whole meet and greets and all of that. Cause it's clearly too much for just one group to handle. So have it be its own separate entity, and start taking feedback from the people that are there to make the entire convention what it is, right? So my idea personally, again, this is for TwitchCon, is just go, whoever you're inviting, get them all in a call, send some correspondence, email correspondence, get them all in a call, do a Twitch stream, like Discord, whatever you have to do to get all these people in, and discuss how you want things to go down. Discuss how you want the security to be, how you want the meet and greets to be, how you want like the event and venue set up, like just okay. So in my ideal, right? You get a venue, you have it laid out, and then you show up to the streamers and like, hey guys, here's the venue, here's how it's laid out, here's kind of what we're gonna do, and what do you think about this? Do you think the vendors are okay over here, where we have the content over here, and then we have the big creator clash over here? Do you want to like mix and match, so we have some vendors here and some vendors over there, with some content over here, some meet and greets over there, and some over there, where you can like move from one meet and greet area to another, so you're not always in the same area? That way, like any concerns for security of being in the same spot for like 2 hours can kind of be mitigated for being able to move. Like, do you want just Twitch provided security? Do you want Twitch and personal security? Do you just want personal security? Do you want the police to be there? We can coordinate something with the city, like just things like that, to get everybody that's gonna be there that people may want to cause harm to, or just like be weirdos towards, feel safe, because they're the whole reason that it's happening. So make sure that they have very good input and have all come to like not a unanimous decision, but like a kind of a good consensus of how they want the layout of the venue to be and how they want security to be handled and things like that, right? And then get with them. Cover some costs, man. Like, you don't have to cover 100%, but if you're going to go the route of TwitchCon security as well as personal security, comp like 30%, 20% of it. Because Emery said she spent like, what, $10,000 on that security? Comp like 2,000. Sure. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 50%, whatever the number is. It can be all discussed, but just make sure that they know that you care about it, you care about them, you care about their safety, you care about their well-being and their happiness, and you just want them to be comfortable. So just anything that you can do to make the people that make your company and your whole convention work, make sure that they're happy. It's not that difficult. It's crazy. And then yeah, like that's really it. Just have communication with these people. It doesn't really make sense to not have communication for the people that you're gonna be hosting. It really doesn't. But really, the biggest thing I want to see for Twitch that could either like end it or push it in a better direction is a separate company, right? And this is what I want people to help me out with, because I would do this if I could. I want to kind of start something like a website for it. And I know starting websites isn't difficult, but it's like the coding, algorithm, and just getting everything running, live streaming like that is another company to open up that's very, it's literally just community owned, right? So we have the website, we have the CEO and all of that, but all of the decisions are made through like the council, and the councils are streaming every quarter, every other quarter, once a year, twice a year, something like that, to where it's a big stream. It's promoted on everybody's streams of just, hey, come into this stream. We're gonna be going over some changes in the future, kind of our roadmap, our plans, what we kind of want to have happen. We want your feedback on if this would be a good experience for you guys, if it'd be a good experience for the creators themselves, what changes, what implements, and everything doesn't have to be done at once. Like you can have a list of like 1,000 ideas. And a lot of people could say, oh, yeah, all of these ideas are good. And you can just start going down the list, start doing some prioritization. And then once you have like a solid list of like 5, 10 items that you want to focus on, then you can have a second follow-up meeting that can be just like subs only, invite only, streamers only, whatever. Just make sure it's public so everybody knows what's going on, and then just kind of vote on those specific things, like throw up polls, stuff like that. It's very easy to get the communities involved and have them be a part of the success of the platform. And if there's a platform that rises up and does all of that while still like making sure that they're following their example of enforcing TOS, making sure that it's a safe space for everybody, doing what you got to do, that'd be great. But I just don't think people, I'm not sure if it's not lucrative enough or anything, but it's something that people just don't want to do, and I don't understand why. But yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. This was a little bit 23, 24 minutes. That's a little bit longer than I thought, but if there's anything that you kind of want to go over, let me know. I'd be more than happy to address it in a follow-up video or in the comments. But yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about it. So, yep.